So what does it mean? If internal stimulus or external stimulus can change the brain through either reorganizing structure or its function or its connections. So there are three things that will happen, and we'll discuss in detail how these three things are happening, how the structure is changing, how the function is changing, how the connections are changing. Okay? So it's a very physiological mechanism of the brain, and that results from the direct interaction with organism with environment. This is important in terms of when we talk about any other connection a person has. Like suppose you are connecting with another person, you are connecting to the consciousness, that is what we are discussing. You are connecting via social media. You are connecting to some experience that you are having. So all these things are capable of this dynamic interaction to adapt and change the brain. So it's also known as rewiring of the brain. And this ability of the neural networks of the brain to change through growth and reorganization is neuroplasticity. So as I have told, adult brain is not a fixed in structure and function. It remodels and changes throughout the life. Now, you also know that this long-term, what is the necessity for this neuroplasticity? Why a brain should change throughout life? Whatever we learn, now always we are in a phase of learning new things, right? We are trying to accommodate new knowledge, new learning, new memories. So how the brain will accommodate all these things? It does by doing this neuroplastic changes of the brain. And forming of long-term memory. That is very important. Initially, the concept of neuroplasticity came in two things. One is when a person has a traumatic brain injury and how a person recovers after that over time. Like he develops paralysis, he develops speech deficit, he develops memory deficit, cognitive deficit. But over time, we see over 4 years, 5 years, the person slowly recovers and the functions are back. So this is an example when the scientists are thinking the brain is changing. There is some change, not a fixed, it's not like previous times you think the neurons are damaged or gone. So something is happening in the brain, that is why it's again the function of coming back. Another thing that the scientists started thinking is what happens when we learn new things. How an adult learn new things. A child learning, a brain is developing this learning. How an adult learn new things. How we form new memories. So neuroplasticity is the answer of that. So there are two kinds of neuroplasticity as I have told you. One is structural plasticity and one is the functional plasticity. So this concept slightly we'll see because it might be slightly boring, but these are the basics of neuroplasticity. The structural plasticity, synaptic plasticity means the brain's ability to modify and strengthen connections between neurons. So synapses, neurons are connected to a particular term that we call as synapses, which are transversed either through electrical stimulus or through neurotransmitters. So one is the synaptic plasticity and one is neurogenesis. Neurogenesis is the process of forming new neurons in the brain. So this too comes under structure. There is some change in the structure. That is why synaptic plasticity and neurogenesis are happening. Another thing that is happening is the functional plasticity is three terms. When an area of the brain is damaged, so other side of the brain, the same area takes over that function and it helps the brain to recover. That is one which is known as potential. Another thing is the vicariation, is the ability of one part of the brain to substitute for the function of another. This is a closely related part, association areas. They will substitute the area of function of another. Another term is diathesis. The functional change of the brain structure remote from the site of the focal brain dimensions. Same brain, same hemisphere, a remote area will take over. So these are the plastic changes that happens in the structure or functional that rebuilds that forms a rewiring of the brain. Right, this is a basic concept of that one. Now this scientist was very important in this whole thing. His head, Donald Head, you should remember his name. And he was a Canadian neurophysiologist and who has given this concept of Head's law. Means neurons that fire together wire together. What does it mean? It means suppose one neuron A is there, another neuron B is there, which are in close proximity. If neuron A starts firing because of some stimulus, the nearby neuron B will also be started firing because the neural transmission happening from A to B. When they start firing together, they are forming very strong synaptic connections. The connections between them are getting very strong. And that is how new learning, new memories are formed together. So this is the Head's rule, and he has written one book, Organization of Behavior, in 1949. That is what I told when neuron A and neuron B are closely linked. They start firing together. They form very strong connection between each other. These are very basic physiology of neurons, and that is why the synaptic strength of between those increases. Now, why we are discussing all these things here is that this is how our brain works inside, right? So, what happens when we are facing some new stimulus, new experience, whatever experience? So, these things are happening. The rule of heads are mostly they're happening inside the brain, and that is why new connections have been formed, new synapses have been strengthened. Now, neuroplasticity, how it is applicable in day-to-day life. One is learning new things. Second is rewiring circuits when you have a brain damage or something, trauma in the brain or some of the damage. Even stress can cause damage of the brain. That also needs rewiring of the circuits. And third is making new memories. These are the basic three application of neuroplasticity in day-to-day life. Well, this is how there are different types of neuroplasticity. What I have told you, like either their enhancement of the existing connections, formation of new connections, and lastly formation of new cells. So you see the time duration. What happens? The connection, the existing connection gets strengthened very fast within few milliseconds. However, when it comes to formation of new connections and new cells, it might take a very long time. That is why a post-stroke patient might not immediately recover. It will take some time for this neuroplasticity to happen. So this is the process of neuroplasticity, the progression of brain development after a trauma. Everything started with a traumatic brain injury, as I told you. So first neurogenesis will happen, neural migration will happen, maturation of the neurons will happen, synaptogenesis will happen, pruning will happen, and then myelin formation will happen, which will make the neuron fully functional again. From here, we take one, that is pruning. We have seen this neurons are being pruned and make nice little neurons. We have nice neurons. And Gardner prunes it with seizures, right? So the brain also undergoes this pruning, mostly when we are in the adolescent stage. So what happens? And this is very vital for learning, for memory, for understanding. So this is the synapse that is here in the brain. When the newborn, 36 weeks of gestation, see the left number of synapses. The newborn, 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, 4 years, number of synapses are growing hugely. So somebody has to cut, somebody has to prune it to make it. So the brain cannot hold so many synapses and it cannot form meaningful connections. So what happens? There is pruning, which is a synaptic elimination. So neurons that are used frequently develop stronger connections, that are rarely used and never used die, or they will prune. Through pruning, the brain can adapt to the changing environment. Pruning starts near the time of birth and continues to late 20s. So this is a very important concept of pruning. That is why learning, if you see, when we learn, where a student, most of your students here, maximum learning can happen in this stage, when this pruning happens very efficiently. However, there are now studies to show that even adulthood this pruning continues. Right? We often remove or jump things and we refresh it with newer things that is relevant to us. But the pruning mainly is continues till late 20s, and that is how our memories, our connections. Sir was telling about an interesting story of a young female starting yoga at a very early age. Pruning will be helpful very much to give the experience of yoga and other things. So that is why a critical window period is there where the neuroplasticity is maximum, and that happens in the early adolescence to early adulthood. However, there is adult plasticity also. That is most interesting nowadays. The adult plasticity, which actually continues the plastic changes of the brain, but in a rate much slower than that happens in the childhood or in the adolescence. Right? So it continues. Now there are ways to increase this plasticity, adult plasticity that I will just going to show you. So this is the one of the peak brain growth that happens, the neuroplastic growth that happens. And just talk about this. I think this is one of the things that is causing neuroplastic change. One of the molecular mechanisms. This is known as long-term potentiation. If you want to read, I am not going into details. Actually, what happens is, if you see the neurons, the presynaptic and postsynaptic neurons, when this learning happens, long-term potentiation, you see the number of receptors in the postsynapse, the third one. I am not looking this one. So the third one, if you see, the number of receptors have increased. So in a single neuron, there will be the receptors which are there previously. From 2 it has become 3. It's just a depiction. Maybe 1,000-fold, million-fold increase of receptors happen when a person in this process of aging. Right? And that is how learning happens, because the number of neurons become more powerful. So this is one of the theories how neuroplasticity happens. The opposite one is there, that is long-term depression. Means it will decrease the postsynaptic space. Why this is important? Every time you cannot put things in your mind, whatever I will deliver you, and you put everything. Something you have to remove. Like we have this mobile now, we are taking photos, and if you see after some time, there will be maybe 500 photos in your mobile. And if you see maybe 100 photos are duplicate photos, we have clicked to see, and we have forgot to delete. So somebody has to sit and delete them, those 500 photos. So it's a very difficult task, but God has given this brain, it does it very efficiently. So long-term potentiation continues to learn new things, long-term depression continues hand in hand to delete things which are not needed at that person's level. And this happens mainly in the memory area, learning area, that is what long-term depression is. So that is how our old memory traces which are not required are deleted. New places are given for the new memories. Right? If you are going for the next trip, suppose, to Srinagar, Kashmir, so you need a memory backup in your mind. How can you keep those memories? And your old 5-year-old calendar trip has to be, so something has to be done like that. So this LTP and NTD works like that. So how do you assess this neuroplasticity actually happening? Is through various things. What sir has told, I think, fMRI is a very important tool where you see the blood flow to the various organs, to the various areas of the brain. The PET, mediate in another neurotransmitter. So these are various tests which actually neuroplasticity happening on the brain. And there are various disorders where neuroplasticity is seen. Most commonly, as I told you, TBI or brain injury, epilepsy, Alzheimer's, schizophrenia, depression, stress, everything has neuroplastic changes. So this now becomes the real thing now. There are factors really affecting the neuroplasticity, there are factors really improving neuroplasticity. I am not saying which is the neuroplasticity comes down because of what, it's not very clear. So these are various things that will affect the neuroplasticity, either in positive manner or negative manner. But this definitely is very important. The factors which improve neuroplasticity, that is what we want. Our brain to be more plastic so that we can become much more efficient in our whatever we are doing. So sleep is one, definitely adequate sleep. Exercise is another one which will improve neuroplasticity. Learning and experiencing, you get connected with people, you talk to people, you go out, reach out to people, you gain new experience, that will definitely improve the neuroplasticity. Diet is another one, balanced diet. Environmental stimulation and enriched experience. Now moving from here, we move on to what is called as enriched experience. So if you see the domain of whatever our brain can function as a experience, there are physical domain, emotional domain, spiritual domain, and mental domain. So this is our strength of our brain. Like physically, if you are fit, mentally, we say that the definition of health in Mali physical, mental, spiritual. So all this comes here, emotional. So these are the domains of our resilience. So now where we fit this yoga, spirituality, and connect it with the neuroplasticity. So for effective neuroplasticity to occur, the brain must be stimulated to newer experience. Most of this experience, not that any experience, the experience should be an enriched experience to stimulate neuroplasticity. Otherwise, neuroplasticity might not be stimulated to that level. Then transiently you will remember, in a day, suppose you meet so many people. How many people you remember after 7 days you have met? Maybe you have seen that person and you say, maybe I have met him once, I don't remember him. But if you had a very good experience with that person, you will remember him even after a enriched experience. This experience can be linked to our mental state and spiritual energy that allows individual to cultivate deeper connection with the divine. So here comes the concept of how neuroplasticity is affecting our consciousness. So somehow our consciousness, there is a connection between that experience and our consciousness through the medium of neuroplasticity. Suppose we can think like this. So neuroplasticity definitely can be increased by the practice of meditation, by the practice of mindfulness. These are all enriched experience, right? Practice of meditation, practice of mindfulness, having a positive affirmation, and religious practices. This all will lead to a spiritual outlook of life and ultimately stimulating neuroplasticity of the brain. There is a very big book, if you want, you can read this, The Power of Neuroplasticity for Pastoral Spiritual Care. So now we understood that brain, which is changing, previously it was only changing because of trauma. Now the things are gone far beyond, and definitely various things makes our brain change, remodel, rewire, and open to more experience, open to more learning. And these are the things that definitely will help our neuroplastic change to happen. I'll just touch upon one by one. Not much. Yoga, if you know, sir has already told, yoga and mindfulness definitely is a enriched experience that causes. There are studies which have shown that the neuroplastic changes, and sir has shown some studies, fMRI changes and PET scan changes. And definitely the yoga is one of the well-researched subject, I would say, very well-researched, where there has been shown that it has changed neuroplasticity. Spiritual practices like being mindful, being religious, this has also increased emotional regulation, heightened empathy, and these connections between the students, the connections are strengthened through this. So numerous studies have demonstrated effect of meditation on brain structure and function. So definitely neuroplastic changes are bound to happen when we are into spiritual practices. So one of the area of the brain, amygdala, which is the brain, the fear area, which is like kind of detrimental area, how it's helpful also. But too much of fear and anxiety, this definitely is not a very good thing for neuroplasticity to happen. So the person is very anxious, very stressed. This brain neuroplasticity change won't happen too much. So if you can reduce that through meditation, through yoga, then definitely your brain will be much more using the neuroplastic ability of your brain to be utilized much. So I think these are very interesting findings, and more literature coming up in this in these areas. However, more are required to understand this. So spiritual practice and meditation is a powerful tool for that class. So if you engage in that, neural circuits become more strengthened, and you have all this. And they can replace your automatic. They can be more automatic. It becomes more automatic. Like you don't have to think of it. Like you ride a bicycle. Initially you need to think how to ride or drive a car. Then it becomes automatic in yourself. You don't have to think. So if you practice this things will become more automatic because of the old negative thoughts and memories, and neuroplasticity definitely play a role in doing the jump and clearing your brain for more. So to conclude, conscious focusing on cultivating a connection with the divine, individual can elevate one's mental state, which is a potential trigger for neuroplastic change in the brain. So this is one of the factors how a neuroplastic change can happen, apart from various factors. Neuroplastic changes play a critical role in enhancing the cognitive abilities, delaying age-related cognitive decline. That is very important. If more of neuroplastic change happens, the brain has kind of reserve where the cognitive decline will be lesser when the person ages, right? And recover from physical, and they also can recover much better from physical and mental trauma of day-to-day life. This divine connection of the mind to spiritual and religious practice will stimulate the higher consciousness. So this is overall